wrongly decided, man. I don't think that there is an individual right to bear arms in the United States Constitution. That's just me. That's just me. Okay. What's up, guys? Welcome in. Welcome in. Yeah, I think Dr. Keisha, we're gonna have to do her with co-hosting. I don't think that she realizes that she has to stop her stream in order to join us, but we can co-host together right now and join her.
Sure.
That's just the easiest route right now, and then we'll figure out the StreamYard afterwards. But I agree. I think it would be better, afterwards. But she's staying up late to do this. Oh, she has too many guests.
So you can't send a co-host thing.
Live with guest. Yeah. Dang it. Envy, can you go over there and tell her? Yeah, Envy, just tell her though that. Okay, shoot. Let's see. So like it's whatever she wants to do. But oh, okay, perfect. Okay, and then the papers. I was joking. I was like, it's crazy, guys. We don't have any microbiology news. I mean, we've basically done a really good job at stymieing microbes all across the world because of the invention of vaccines. It was just so good. And now we don't have to worry about it anymore. And oh, wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't that be amazing?
Would it be great to eliminate all microbes? All microbes?
Okay, I mean evolutionary, but
even the ones in your gut.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean the ones that are disease ridden, at least.
I think baby food is underestimated, Corey. I don't think it'll be a big problem.
Fair enough.
Oh my god!
Who doesn't want like banana paste like every day?
I know. I've known a few people that adults that have whatever they eat baby food that's actual food.
Baby food can be
not like not like a lot. Like I know there's a select few people that seem to enjoy baby food.
Yeah, but like it seems just like really bad. Like and there's probably a reason for this. Yeah, babies just have a different palate or something. I don't know.
I think it's mostly they just don't know any better. It's like whatever you shove in their mouth, it's just a new sensation for them until I guess acquired. Yeah, I'm not sure if there's any like real default good taste to them. I mean, I'm sure there probably is.
Yeah, but like there's probably some science about this.
But I'm sure like you've had even just like the cereal that's like whatever, just so bland, or like that just like mush, even like worse than porridge or whatnot. But like they, at least in my experience, like my nieces and nephews and my younger siblings, like they ate that up like crazy.
Hey, to any audience here, we are just waiting to get things set up. This is why I usually wait to like the last second to get started.
Understandable.
Yeah. But dear audience, yeah, we're just setting up. So we might have a guest coming on as well. So chill out. And I don't know. I'm also speaking to Dr. Greg's audience. I don't know how to please them.
And we can all celebrate the Montreal Canadiens in the Eastern Conference Finals of hockey.
Oh, nice, dude. Perfect. It says viewers not matched. I don't understand what that means. For the co-host, I can't suggest her because it says viewers not matched. I don't understand.
You have a white audience. You have a black audience. It's not gonna work.
Viewer, I've never seen that before. It says no vacancy, live with guests. Like those are all the normal things. Co-hosting with me, this, and then Are you on 18 plus? Oh, that must be it. Yeah. Yeah, I am. That must be it.
Oh, can you
Let's see.
undo that?
Yeah. Let me okay, let me go let me end the live. Try to do
Is-
that.
Corey, you just have to clean up your potty mouth, okay? I need you to.
I'm
No,
notorious.
it's
I
like
apologize for all the slurs
dude.
last week. I couldn't help it.
People are always like people like it's weird. People always make a big deal about it, but it's like how could TikTok ever know that you're below 18?
Is there, well, is there any meaningful difference between 18 plus or not on TikTok? Because
Yeah,
it seems
you
pretty.
you're not supposed to be able to go.
Like we were saying smugs last time, and I was totally lost. Like, that has.
It's because you're supposed to. Where is it? I forget where the moderation is on it. I haven't turned this like on for so long. It's like this thing where you're supposed to be able to. There's a stipulation on how and when you're supposed to do it. And I'm like, if they're joining, they have an account, and if they have an account, then it should be like legal for them to come in. But then people will just be like, you're under 18, you're under 18, and they just spamming your chat. And I'm like, bro, like you are creating more of a problem by spamming this person's under 18. Nobody's gonna understand that they're under 18, but fucking 20 people all spamming under 18, under 18. Like that's gonna trigger the fucking thing more than anything. It's just like, it's so frustrating, man. You're like, what are you guys doing? So I just like did it just to like stop my own audience from being so
That's
like
fair. Being
ridiculous.
so immature.
Yeah, dude. I'm like, what are you guys doing? Like, are you trying to get me down, like taken down? How would they know? How would they possibly know it's a child or whatever? It's so stupid. I can't.
I mean, even if it is within reason, TikTok seems pretty geared to like mass appeal. Like they seem pretty heavy-handed in the moderation. So,
It's so stupid, dude.
but maybe I'm incorrect.
So, will you have to restart your stream?
I'm trying to find it. I'm trying to find that setting. 1 second. How do I do 18 plus TikTok stream? Especially since like I've like going as a kid, like I was always interested in politics from okay, check on settings before or during your podcast. Under the stream settings, you'll see the audience controls are automatically applied. Okay, click on settings. Okay, settings. Do something. Settings, do it. Okay. And then under your stream settings, I'm not seeing it. Moderators and save to landscape hotkeys, advanced settings. I don't see where it is. How was she able to do it before? What if she changed her shit?
Yeah, unless you change the setting. Wait, that's it because it worked last week, right?
Yeah, 2 weeks ago. Yeah. One more time. I don't know. The problem also is like they freaking changed the they changed the stupid AI, the UI, so it's like it's like impossible to find now. I can't find it. I don't know what to say. I don't get it. They just like did a whole you like overhaul. Oh, there it is. I found it. Oh, I turned mine off. That's why. Now there's audience control on. Okay. Okay. I was laissez-faire apparently before. But yeah, dude, I started paying attention to politics when I was like 14. So I feel like if someone wants to come in and like ask questions, like that's rad. That's fine.
Yep.
I think
You
that's
know,
good for sure.
yeah,
But I
yeah,
think that's probably
exactly. So,
the whatever, not the norm.
no, it wasn't on before, and I prefer that it's not on, but now it's on. So
No, I mean for someone to be into politics at the age of 14,
yeah,
I think that's
yeah,
a good thing. As in, I wish
agreed.
that was more the case for young people. But
Yeah, exactly.
I can definitely say I was not involved or tracking politics at the age of 14, for sure.
Share screen. Scene. There we go. Okay, let's send it out. Yeah, yeah. It's you guys, MB. It's you guys. You guys freak out when there's anyone that's in there that has like a femme voice. Then just I'm like 18, child. And I'm like, bro, you guys need to chill. You guys need
Or
to
it's like
chill.
online gaming. If someone
Oh my god.
has too young of a
Finds out
voice.
it's a chick.
It
Yeah.
won't be. How are they going to know whether or not someone? It's literally not. It's their own app. How are they going to take my account away if
Can you
they're something
send
that's regulated them?
you
I
send
am.
the message?
Yeah, I just did.
Okay.
Okay, she declined it again. Can you tell her? Can you go into Dr. Keisha's live and tell her that I'm sending her to a co-host invite? Oh, here we go. It's happening. Hello. We did it.
Hi.
We
Hey,
did it.
y'all.
Can you guys
I
hear
could
me?
not make it. I'm sorry. I could not make it over to the StreamYard next time
It's okay.
because we were gabbing.
Corey, Prime, are you guys good? Can you hear her?
I can hear, and
Yeah.
hopefully they can hear us, or me, and well, all of us.
Good.
Dr. Keisha, could you just hear them?
I hear one, not the other.
Yeah.
Testing, testing.
Okay. Looks
Okay,
like
he sounds far away.
Prime.
I'm here. Do people not
Okay.
hear me? Do I sound low?
We're good. We're good. I'm gonna
Yeah,
turn
we're
you
good.
up. I'll turn you up a little bit so that you can.
I just overpower Prime.
That's what it is. You're
Yeah, there you go. Okay, everything's good on my end. Cool. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Keisha. I wanted to have someone on for. I mean, it's a crazy moment. I mean, people were not paying attention. The Ebola outbreak that's happening in Africa, that's in Congo, right? And now there is a larger than expected, or we're still kind of figuring out how many cases there are. And then on top of that, there's some like weird aspects of this being a different strain than there was the previous outbreak, so that they don't have a working vaccine. And the early PCR detection that they had used was basically not adequate to find this strain. So now we have like way more than expected cases. So it's a pretty big event. The old CDC director, starts with the name Redfield, was talking about that he thinks that this could be like a significant pandemic. So unfortunately, it seems like we are here yet again.
Uh-oh, did we lose? Okay. I lost my sound for a minute. You hear me?
Yeah,
We
I
can still hear you.
Do you hear me?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. Okay, so you do know that I think in the last 24 hours, they ramped it up to extremely high, very high. I'm sorry, went from high to very high risk for this Ebola outbreak. Ebola is nothing new, y'all, but the problem is that this strain that I just call BB, we'll call it BB, this strain, the Bundibugyo strain, is not like the others. The problem that happened was that there were several weeks where it propagated because they could not test for it. They took the wrong cartridge out there, and the cartridge that they were testing with was for another strain. So they had to go back to the board, drawing board, test for the correct strain, which is this strain, and then found out, right, there were cases. Now, the cases like actually testing, and imagine here, even though it's not great, we have access to hospitals, right? We're not all in rural areas. They are the logistics of getting to an area to get the vaccine, to get the samples to test and bring it. That's another thing. I don't know if you guys remember last year when I was talking to everybody about disease X, and disease X was simply malaria with severe malnutrition, but because it was in an area that when they tried to get this patient samples and bring them back, they had to go back again because of the heat and the time and everything. They were not optimal samples. They had to redo everything. That's kind of what's happening here is you're dealing with a place that doesn't have the resources we have. There's not a lab. There's not many labs that even test for Ebola here, but there's not a lab that's within distance for them to be able to do this strategically in like a day or two. Like, it takes weeks. That's why everything's delayed when they find out it's this strain. And then, yes, it doesn't have the immunization, the vaccines that we have for other strains of Ebola. And the 82 cases and the 7 deaths were based upon the actual confirmation. But it's believed that there's 750 cases and 177 deaths. And the reason why, the mortality rate can slide between 30 to 50 to even 70, just depends on the conditions on which it is. Yeah.
I mean, how do you think that, do we have like a current assessment of how well like Africa's own healthcare system is like able to contend with this? Because I was reading an article today that there's, basically some African public health officials that are saying that they're engaged. They understand that this is a problem, and not like downplaying it, but just saying like, hey, we're here. We exist, and we're trying to do it.
And they have the infrastructure, or rather, at least that's one of the messages that I got from one of the articles.
Yeah.
Like, not that they have like the exact same infrastructure that, let's say, other countries have, but like, maybe not as bad as sometimes people think. But again, I don't actually know what's true, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, actually, they don't. So the areas that are affected by this are the Democratic Republic of Congo and a specific region of it. I think it's the southeast region, and then Uganda as well. But the majority of cases are in the DRC. And again, I mentioned, I don't know if you guys have been to like different countries in Africa. They have like different regions. So like we have the city, the suburbs, the country. You go to a village region where outbreaks are happening, first of all, they are not roads like paved roads like here. So the logistics of getting into these places, you can, in the city, you can have a hospital and all of that stuff, but it's not the same to which we think it is.
Yeah, especially, I mean, in some cases in South Sudan too, right? Which is in a current civil war. I mean, over 1 million people have died in the last 3 years. It's awful, and it's just I just worry. I was looking at, or basically a USAID program director was making the case that the USAID is literally there to try to fill in some of that patchwork, so that if someone comes in with a hemorrhagic fever, that's in a position of that could have something Ebola related, that triggers USAID, that triggers a cascading of events. And it's like just talking about how having USAID fallen out because of Elon Musk and Trump's like cuts and just the complete wholesale removal of USAID, like it basically directly contributed to this outbreak getting out larger than it should be.
Oh, 100% it does.
Yeah, it's very sad.
We are taught, y'all. Yeah. I mean, I was just telling everybody, pretend that you about to get a house, and maybe your parents or you're getting this loan and you were guaranteed this loan, you're moving out in the house, and then they decide the day before you move out, you're not getting the money that you were expecting to get. We had promised funds that were taken out. There were places where there was aid and all the people that were there to be able to distribute it gone. And it's kind of like forecasting. You forecast for the next year. We forecast for things in health.
She paused for me.
Yeah, for me as well. Last thing I heard was forecast.
Let's give her a second. Man, I'm reading these Ebola vaccines, the reviews. It's really cool. I mean, they have so many that are actually in human trials right now. I just don't know which one of them are going to be going. Oh, we dropped out. They do have a mRNA lipid nanoparticle delivery Ebola in human trials. So hopefully they could do some type of like spread out. So that would be the ideal, because I mean, we used the mRNA lipid nanoparticle delivery for vaccines before.
Yep.
Because it can change in big batches really quickly the sequence. So we're talking like 11 days to change the vaccine sequence. So man, that'd be amazing to use that technology like right now, right? I mean, that would be.
I mean, that's one of the whole advantages of the mRNA vaccine, right? Is that you can switch
Exactly.
pretty quickly.
Exactly.
And just another proof of the concept and the advantage of this platform.
Awesome.
That was so weird.
Okay.
Shout out to TikTok Studio.
Sorry.
I don't know if that was it or what.
So sorry, I forgot we were. Go ahead.
I think she was mentioning the forecasting and the budgeting. I believe.
Budgeting from the US.
Oh yeah, you forecast. You set aside funds and money, and they were expecting it. WHO. If you guys go over to WHO's page, they say this all the time, that they had expected things to be taken care of, and the United States was part of it. So it's kind of like, you just like, oh, never mind, I'm not helping you. And people were expecting their HIV treatment, and people were expecting things like this, preparing for outbreaks. And, you know, it's funny. I don't know if you guys know the article where the United States has already kind of put their checkpoints for screening and not allowing people that have been to the DRC or to the Congo, you know, to come in, because they think if they could shut the borders and stop it. You know, do know there is a point where trying to go back and contact trace is not going to work. That one person that went to the DRC that may have contact with somebody else that went somewhere else, but they were in Germany, and then they come to the United States. There is a point where there's going to be intermingling, or there is going to be a point where the resources that we rely on are affected by this outbreak. Or the people that we depend upon, because this is also something people don't think about, the US aid, and that a lot of diplomatic relations we have are based upon the things that we do, the charity work or the aid. And we look bad, and some of the relationships we have formed were based upon how we give to others. So why are they going to have a relation with us when we don't even help other people?
Yeah. Any thoughts, Prime? Or Corey?
Well, I mean, to Dr. Keisha's point, is like, yeah, like it seems like, especially like the United States' response, particularly, is like, as usual, at least as of now, is to like isolate, as in not sort of the mentality of like not our problem, and then, you know, we'll just sort of like, well, yeah, we'll just like reject people that are coming from these countries, but like as whatever the phrase goes, it's like viruses know no borders, or infections know no borders. At some point, as mentioned, like contact tracing becomes either like a nightmare or impossible, and like there's only so long that you can ignore the rest of the world to become, or at some point your isolationist stance is probably going to backfire in the long run.
I mean, I think I've talked to quite a few people since the U.S. aid defund situation happened under the Doge regime, and there's a strain of individuals who believes, well, you know, U.S. aid was used as part of intelligence operations, which, as far as I know, that's actually true. That's a thing that happened in the past. But they use that. I don't know why my camera just conked out on me. But they use that as an excuse to say that, of course, we need to get rid of this a program, right? Because the CIA or something was using it. And then they downplay the effects it has on the actual people. One, CIA is going to do going to do it anyway, right? It has resources. So if like, because I know some people in the audience are thinking about this, right? Like, if they want to do an intelligence operation in some country, they're just going to do that, right? They'll do it through some other way. This has not stopped them, slow them down one bit. So it's quite strange for people to focus in on that, a certain chain of individuals. But beyond that, like the denial of like the incredible impact that U.S. aid has had around the world. Um, there was an estimate that came out recently. Maybe we'll talk more about it later. That even so far, like 700,000 people may have died. Extra people may have died because of USAID's removal. Right now, that may be a larger than a true number, or maybe a undercount. But the point is that like it's had a massive impact. I like what Dr. Keisha said about our soft power, which is basically what she was referring to there. That USAID had was one of like the shining examples of EOS diplomacy. And this was like bipartisan. Like, like this sound. This is like the attack came from like conservatives, right? Dr. Donald Trump, but like this was a bipartisan program that was supported. Like Marco Rubio was like a big fan of USAID, talking about like all the advantages it gives us around the world. When like you drop in either it might be food or it might be medicine or clinic, right? And you put like a U.S. flag over there, and people go there regularly, interact with this organization, and it keeps their loved ones alive. That's huge. That's huge, and that's gone. What the consequences that'll be, I mean, beyond the medical, it's unclear, right, in the long run. But it's not nothing. It's not insignificant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I guess I'm curious, Dr. Keisha, like your like the next steps or your like where we go from here. I mean, so I was looking at like review papers on the status of Ebola vaccines, and there is one, a recombinant one, the recombinant vesicular stomatitis virus, which was for the Zaire Ebola virus, which is in 2018. But then they also have nucleotide-based ones, which is the mRNA lipid nanoparticle-based ones. So, which was interesting. I read that basically the large pharmaceutical companies can change the sequence of the RNA as quickly as 11 days for a large batch. So there's obviously like weakened versions that were also in development and all that kind of stuff. But if we're talking about like rapid development, I mean, I guess I'm curious, like what are the next steps, like in something like this?
Time, because I know that they're already working on something in the UK. And WHO has said, and you all know here, that it takes the trials, it takes funding, it takes approval. And WHO says there's nothing that's like ready in 11 days, right? As you say, that's going to be available to help with this. Mm-hmm. Do you guys remember during C-19 how long it took us to get it? But do you also remember how long it took for it to get to places like DRC? Mm. While we were complaining, we had them first, and we were complaining about taking them, but these people were waiting to get immunizations.
Mm-hmm. At least I remember the talking point for sure. As of like, yes, the rest of the world outside of a few like privileged countries were left behind.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was like November, right? Like 11 months for the development of it. I'm curious, like how long then was it for it to get to those places? Are we talking like obviously months?
It was a long time. It was it was more than months.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh! Wow,
it was a long time.
That's awful.
Yeah,
they weren't allowed to create their own.
Yeah, as alluded to last time, Bill Gates and all that stuff.
Yeah. They weren't allowed to create their own batches, which is unfortunate because like the pharmaceutical companies, the thing that we are always criticizing, and for very good reasons, they actually decided we'll allow this. we'll give out the formula or whatever that might be. But that was disallowed, and it cost lives. Um, and yeah, and then and if I remember correctly, and I might be misremembering, so someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but like there were like some vaccines that like required refrigeration, right? And this was a problem, right? Like some vaccines did require refrigeration, and some
That
vaccines
was the
didn't.
mRNA vaccine does require
Mm-hmm.
extreme refrigeration more than
and
typical.
and that was a problem, right? That was being pushed on some global South countries, but that was a problem for a lot of the reasons why we're having trouble with like the Ebola situation that Dr. Keisha was pointing out. Like they don't like in some of these places they don't have access to refrigeration, right? Like if this needs to stay cold before we deliver it to the patient, then it just was impossible. So if that's what you're offering to these countries, well, that's just not going to work. Like you cannot service like these rural areas, or maybe even not so rural areas, just if they just don't have like maybe steady access to power, right? So maybe you do have an electrical grid, but for whatever reason, it's not steady. And this was an issue as well, right? Like you have to like take these things into account when dealing with public health. And so these were some really unfortunate, let's call them mistakes that happened at the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know how. I mean, at earliest, it would be like any type of vaccine would be at least a year. I mean, we're talking like because it has to go through all the stages. Just for clarification, it was like once they had been approved, then they can change the sequence. But it's not like they could pump out a vaccine now in 11 days. I mean,
Right.
in theory they could, but it would be untested and unapproved and completely the efficacious of it is completely unknown. So it'd be completely experimental. So you'd never want to do that. But it's yeah. It is. It's crazy. I mean, is there? I'm curious about like, I mean, just PPE at this point. I thought the healthcare professionals are like no PPE and having spread to
Imagine
them.
that too.
Yeah. So can we just
Imagine
give them
that, 'cause
PPE?
we're so, again, logistics, and oh wow, if only they had the funding and the availability and the resources to get that in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
I feel
I mean,
like,
it's sad because there was another Ebola outbreak, I think last year, and the people that got it were the healthcare workers. One of them like did not even have, I think, had a gown or a mask. And I think this one actually was volunteer. Mm-hmm.
So like, I have someone in my chat that's like, obviously, I mean, we get a lot of this stuff, but I mean, like what, Dr. Keisha, I just want to give you the opportunity to kind of, I know how I would answer this, but I would like you the opportunity to kind of like, why is it so like important other than just these are, I guess, yeah, I'm curious, like why is the public health of other nations so tied to our own?
Is somebody asking that?
Is an anti-vaxxer.
Oh, okay. I was like, so somebody's asking this selfishly.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I equate this to congratulations that you're healthy. Mm-hmm. Shout out to you, and shout out to all your family that they're healthy so far. That there's two types of health, and I implore you to look into public health, because you can be the healthiest person, CMOS or what have you, work out, can run circles around people. But there will come a time where an infectious disease that you do not know you have, mm-hmm. and you walk past somebody and you deposit said disease onto them and they don't make it. And you will never know. You will never know. You also will never know when an infectious disease takes out a hospital urgent care to where the resources they need to take care of other outbreaks, heart disease, a serious mass trauma that happened on the highway, and they're not prepared for it because they're also dealing with the outbreak. So the reason why public health is important, the reason why we immunize is not for ourselves, but it's to protect the greater good, the resources that we need and have. Because it was really funny during the pandemic when people were crying when they couldn't get their brand of Cheetos and they were no longer on their shelves and their brand of Yoo-hoo drinks or whatever. But you know why? Because resources were diverted because people weren't well because of public health.
And,
So,
and in
I
2014,
mean,
we saw Ebola in the United States, but we didn't. Sorry, Prime. I gotta go after this, but there's the positive cases in the United States, but there just wasn't active community spread, right? So it wasn't considered like an outbreak within the United States, as from what I understand.
this is
Correct.
part of like, and I don't know if this particular chatter would express it in this way, but like this is part of the Fortress America mindset, where there is a group of people who believe that, well, we can just like build the border wall higher, right? We can keep the unwashed masses out. And then the rest of the world just needs to fend for themselves. I mean, we'll send them our products, right? We'll do that much, but we won't actually we'll be able to keep the danger of the world out. We can export violence to the rest of the world, but like if we just like harden our borders, if we just like have brutal enough immigration policies, well then somehow we can protect America from the worst of all the things that we do, or even climate change, right? These things aren't our problem, they're someone else's problem. No, we are clearly interconnected. The pandemic made that clear when like logistics lines broke down around the world, and a lot of things that we found out were critical to our national security, to our functioning, to our daily lives, were suddenly unavailable. We're finding that once again now during the Iran war, how these logistics lines work, and things are so complicated and complex that like not it's difficult to understand until it actually breaks, right? And so when you say that, oh well, like leave it up to these other nations, right, to handle these pandemics, right? Assuming that like somehow it won't make it back to our shores, as Dr. Greg just made it clear it did, right? I do remember the Ebola outbreak, right? That happened. And like in terms of, because Ebola is not like really like a not the type to cause like a pandemic level outbreak that we saw previously. But like if there is a disease of that nature, right, that spreads quickly.
Well,
And
why do you not think Ebola could cause an outbreak though?
They're getting a lot of
no, I'm
feedback.
saying that's not. Sorry, I'm just saying not the same as we saw previously for COVID-19. But if you'd like to expand on that, that's fine. My point is that like if we do see a disease that causes that sort of disaster again, all of this will simply repeat. Right? This is all a possibility, and we can't just like build a higher wall and say that we're safe.
Yeah, yeah, but we have to be careful and say that. So in the last episode I just did, and hantavirus and what it teaches us, I go into how different viruses affect the body different ways, and I call it a recipe for disaster because you have to have the perfect recipe. Now, my husband can make some good food. Jonah rice egg is good. But the perfect recipe for disaster that a virus wants is it wants to be contagious, or the R naught wants to be high, like measles. Yes, like C19 actually had an R naught twice that of Ebola, but not as high as measles. Measles has the highest infectivity rate. The second perfect storm is virality. That means that it has a high fatality rate. C19 had that for a while, but not like Ebola. C19's fatality rate is very, very high. And so you don't even have time to get natural immunity or herd immunity or what people say. So actually it has went up on C19 on that for the perfect recipe. The third thing is, and this is what WHO, one of their subcommittees just said, is that you have to have a horrible response for it. And we already have that because more people don't believe in science or the institutions that govern them. More people are not prepared, and we don't have the response team here in the United States. When the hantavirus outbreak happened on that ship, do you know that America was a week behind everybody else on getting things together? And do you know that America is the only place that says Americans, you can quarantine at home or you can quarantine at the center. Everybody else is like, you're quarantining it. So my thing is that we have to be careful because high fatality rate thing can actually, if we're already at 700 people in this area and we had 1.1 million people unalive in the years from C19, this can cause a pandemic in a different ways because we have a recipe for disaster. It's a different virus, so it's going to be in a different way. It's not going to spread the same way. But if we're not believing in the parameters, there was somebody that was telling me their friend said, I'm not wearing a mask during the next pandemic. We have a bunch of foolish behavior that has multiplied. So it could.
I just so you know, your audio.
Just a quick audio note. We have like a bunch of odd feedback ever since like you started. If there's like any type of audio, the settings that you had changed, it's okay.
Yeah.
If you had changed anything in the last couple.
Yeah, since you started talking again, it was so I don't know if you moved your position or something. But well, if you
is it, hold on.
We can hear you, but it's just it's still like
it's still staticky.
Yeah.
Well, we can still hear you through it. So we did understand what you just said.
Testing.
No, it's still there a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
And it just happened. In this case, is it still gone?
In the same, and it wasn't as.
You know what it is, though. I'm not gonna lie. It's the TikTok Live Studio just like went blank.
Oh yeah, that's probably
it did. So I might go on my it's really weird. No, the static is happening, Dr. Mom, because of me. But let me see something.
So,
Go for it.
I was going to ask you, Dr. Keisha, while you work on that, like, because I'm unfamiliar with the layout of the DRC.
Okay, how's that, y'all?
There you go.
Much better.
Fine, great. Yes.
I unplugged it, but now I can't hear y'all.
You can't.
Oh.
Testing.
Okay.
Testing.
Hello.
Testing.
No, she can't hear us.
Solve one problem to get a new one.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Okay. Can you guys hear me?
Testing.
Yes.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
can
we
hear
can.
you. Testing.
I can't hear
Testing.
y'all.
Maybe the audio driver crashed.
Okay, we even come back. I can't hear you.
Yeah.
I don't hear anybody.
Yeah. Let's try to reconnect.
Hold on. Let me see one more.
Let's try. I'll try.
What'd you say?
Can you hear us?
Can you hear me? I'm gonna try.
Okay, I can't.
Let's see. I'm gonna try to
That's so
disconnect and
weird.
reconnect.
I'll tell you the TikTok studio
Match
stuff.
settings. Sorry, guys. Co-host.
Yeah, they can't hear you guys. Hey, Greg, they can't hear you guys either.
Okay.
They said they don't hear you.
Okay. 1 second.
Okay, let's do this. Let's leave and come back.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. Sorry. We'll just do StreamYard next time or something. TikTok, yeah. They're rolling out updates to TikTok Studio and the UI and everything, so it's just been weird.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like big improvements.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll eventually
Chinese programmers to the AI slop that the U.S. engineers are doing.
But yeah, I think as Dr. Keisha was saying, is like, I guess to Prime's point, or at least I think the primary message is like, this does not seem so far to be on the level of like having the ability to cause a pandemic on the same magnitude of like C19. But like, that's not to say that it's not possible. But like, so far, I think the odds are in our favor. Not to say that what's going on currently is a good thing. Or that it can't spiral out of control.
Yeah, what I've heard, and I'm curious what Dr. Keisha's opinion on this, is that like Ebola like kills too quickly, and like that's a problem. Like if it doesn't, if it takes a while to kill you before like you start showing symptoms, right? Like that's better, right? Obviously, because if people don't know that they're infected, other people can't readily identify them, if they're just ambulatory walking around, then it makes it much more difficult. Like with like COVID, until it hits you, and then you're laid out. Um, so that's my understanding. But like it's not a point to argue. Um, is she back?
I'm trying. No, she's testing her she's testing her audio with the guest, I think.
What I wanted to ask, and hopefully she can answer this question, is about like the layout of the DRC. And I want to know, like, I guess this is a problem that we can like throw money at and solve. Specifically in this area, it comes a point where like more money doesn't necessarily solve it. It's just like a matter of like this will take time, right? Like for instance, like more money doesn't like shrink the distance between like a hospital and a village, right? Maybe money allows us to use a helicopter to like get to the village, right? If there's a place that you can either land or like drop people down to do work and then pull them out. So maybe that could be helpful. But then it's like, well, is this in a conflict area? Which is what I really want to ask about, because, um, like then it's like even if you do have more money, right? Like even if you do have more resources, like if that's stymied by moving material,
Mm-hmm.
then that's a huge issue. So like I'm just curious if you, and she might not be able to answer this question because depends on her level of expertise on the region. But that's like part of it. Like it's not it's rarely the virus like being the problem. It's the human response, right? The
Mm-hmm.
politics around it, the societal um, um, reaction to what's going on, right? And like um, you know,
Yeah, the money
and
and the logistics. Like there's probably a point where, let's say, throwing money at this problem is going to have some benefit. But let's say if if it's in a conflict area, like that throws a wrench in the logistics of like, and I don't like, I can imagine like, uh, in a certain conflict area, if you provide the resources, like I think it does happen where like whatever, uh, certain parties of the conflict just start siphoning off the resources for themselves, or like
that's true. I mean, like part of the resources might have to be like bribing like military belligerents, right?
right.
Like if they're like either two parties, like sorry, two organizations that are fighting, or multiple organizations that are fighting in some really messy parts of the world, right? Like yeah, actually, the public health response might be paying off the parties. Like, hey, could we just like you see these this insignia, right? Allow us to move through and take care of this thing, right? Like we know you don't care enough about like the people who are trapped under your little fiefdoms, but please just let us move through and take care of this, and then we'll leave out, and you can engage in your regularly scheduled nonsense.
But yeah,
Um,
exactly. I can.
no.
I'm speculating, but I can sort of imagine a situation of like even providing, assuming there is somewhere down the road a viable vaccine, or even like if there wasn't one now, I can imagine a scenario of how that makes the situation worse in a conflict, because then like you know if you're one side of the conflict and you have access to a vaccine, that's an advantage for you, right?
Disease
Uh,
spreads in
Mm-hmm.
any conflict, right? Like in any of these conflicts, disease like the ones that are far less disastrous than this. But the moment that public health, not even public health, right? Just like people's hygiene, breaks down, their access to hygienic care in hygienic spaces, right? Um, breaks down, then like just a whole list of diseases can spread. And it's really unfortunate. I mean, that's like it's always a constant part of conflict, since time immemorial, is the rapid spread of disease.
Sure.
Um, yeah, and that's not something we overcome. Go ahead.
Especially like in a region that's war torn, so there's bodies, man, and that's the problem, right?
Oh
They
yeah,
have
parties.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. There's and that's how it's spread. So it's just like a perfect
or
trifecta of like there's not the PPE, there's not the money, and there's actually active like vectors for this thing to spread. It's just it's insane.
or things like since you don't have access to toilets, or like infrastructure such as that to like for waste management, right? When that breaks down, you have waste, either rotting food or like human waste in the area. Yeah, that's a big issue. Um, or and just lack of food, right? People who are starving like have less ability to fight off diseases, right? Like if you don't have access, you're not strong and healthy as before, you're more vulnerable. So all these things compound.
So just
And if
from the, go ahead.
I was gonna say, if memory serves me correctly, definitely someone correct me if wrong. Like, I think one of the issues with Ebola is that, well, unfortunately, if someone passed away from Ebola, the body's still quite infectious afterwards.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
Yeah, they have to like how they bury the bodies is incredibly important. So transmission. This is from the WHO's own website. It is thought that fruit bats are the natural hosts of the ortho Ebola virus. The virus can get into the human population when people have close contact with the blood, secretions, organs, or other body fluids of infected animals such as fruit bats, chimpanzees, gorillas, monkeys, antelope, porcupines. People can get infected with the virus from another person by direct contact through broken skin or mucosal membranes with one, the blood or body fluids of a person who is sick with or has died from Ebola disease, and two, objects or surfaces that have been contaminated with body fluids like blood, feces, vomit from a person sick with the disease or who has died from the disease. So healthcare professionals that don't have PPE, that makes sense, right? Those are people that they're just getting contracted from it. And also like the bodies, man, there's just going to be tons of them because of what's happening.
Is Ebola though one that like sweat blood or something, like blood comes out the pores or something?
Yeah, it's a hemorrhagic
fever. And
fever.
that's the problem with this one is actually it's causing that. So that was another one of those symptoms that people would, the WHO and that USAID specifically has been trained in order to actually like notice, and that's like the alarm bells were supposed to be ringing, but there wasn't that, and it took 3 weeks in order for us to figure out like what it was. And then when it did, basically they didn't have the right PCR tests, and they had so that was another problem. And they have a shortage actually right now of the PCR kits in the area in order to test for the specific one. So again, it's just like a trifecta of just all these awful things. Like PCR is used, and it makes sense too, because if there's a bunch of specific if there's just a bunch of specific, they need to be very specific in order to make sure that what strain it is that it's going from. So yeah, it's so sad, man. Confirmation of the person with Ebola virus infection is made using the following diagnostic methods: reverse transcriptase polymerase chain reactions, which is an RT-PCR assay that we use for SARS-CoV-2, an ELISA test, an antibody capture enzyme linked immunoabsorbent assay, right, Corey? Something like that.
Yes, you're exactly right, Eliza.
Antigen capture detection tests, and viral isolation by cell culture. Apparently that's never happened, guys, but that's never mind. Sorry.
That's well, no, you're like, there are people that believe that, but thankfully that seems like very, very fringe. But viral denial appears to be a legitimate thing, unfortunately.
Yeah, it is crazy. So, but funnily, I'm not seeing rosemary tinctures on treatment here. It's crazy. Maybe it's
It's all suppressed.
garlic. It's garlic. It's garlic in the shoes. That's what it is. Treatment over the years, the WHO and partners have developed guidance and training that outline how to provide the best possible care for patients, increases the chance of survival. This covers relevant tests, how to manage pain, all that kind of stuff. But if you're positive, there's no preventative vaccine that you can get treatment to. I mean, you have a 30 to 40% chance of losing your life, basically. For Ebola virus, WHO recommends for treatment, there's some antivirals that are both monoclonal antibodies, so that's good. And then for Ebola diseases, it's SVBD is what they call us. I don't know the exact name, but that was that's what they were talking about as the BVD is the Bundibogo virus disease. So BVD. There are no approved therapeutics for that one, unfortunately. Wow. That's really unfortunate. There are antivirals, monoclonal antibodies for the other variants, but not these.
So I mean, it must be a significant deviation or change, mutation, I would imagine, if like none of the treatments for the other Ebola strains like have no transference or effectiveness whatsoever. That must be a big, at least I imagine, a fairly big leap.
Oh, so I'm curious, and maybe you two are the people to talk to about this. Like, there was a process to create those treatments, right? Those antivirals or like whatever they might be. There was a process to do that, right? Like, could you not go through the same process and like have a high likelihood of having a similar product at the end? Is it a matter simply of time to do those steps, or is there something else, another roadblock? Do you understand what I'm saying here? That like, yeah.
So what is the fastest to market vaccine? I got her. We're do the co-hosts, and then we can. I think that's the question. Like, what's the fastest to market? A monoclonal antibody treatment they need to develop. That'd be amazing.
Although it's usually pretty expensive.
Exactly.
Well, that's the thing. Like, one of the unfortunate things is like, is a pharmaceutical company like truly incentivized to develop a therapy for this?
Yeah, I mean, there for sure. I mean, you're gonna have a lot of governments that are paying like a lot of money in order to do it. Let's try to get. I think I can get you up here, Dr. Keisha. Sorry, I'm just trying to get you. Okay, boom. There you go, Dr. Keisha. So yeah, I think I don't think it's as they basically have to figure out. I would be very surprised if they don't try to do the nucleotide based one, like going as soon as possible, because like I said, they can, once the sequencing is done, they can start the trials as soon as possible. So I feel like that would probably be the way to go, but
so sequencing is like the big barrier, you would say, to a new drug.
Not anymore. I mean, sequencing can take really quickly. I mean, really, really easily, actually. It basically it's you sequence, you find the part that you want to make the antigen inside the body. You create the mRNA lipid nanoparticle vaccine, and then honestly the trials would be the longest part. Making sure it's efficacious, making sure that it doesn't have any off problems. That would be the main stipulation, but it could be similar to what the Operation Warp Speed, where you had all the clinical trials, but they just overlapped. So because during a time when you need lives are on the line, you're going through the same stipulations, which is like increasing, ratcheting up of like how stringent the cases are. But I think you'd have to do something like that at the same time. During SARS-CoV-2, we had antivirals that were also being tested as well. So I mean, you can all roads kind of. Dr. Keisha, I think we can hear you now, but you're on mute right now.
TikTok live studio is hilarious. Like the audio, all the buttons disappeared.
Oh, that's so weird. I'm so sorry.
They have the TikTok live studio is horrible. Yeah, when I record my podcast, I use Riverside. I love it.
Oh, cool. Yeah, the app is so much better. I don't know what they do. They're obviously the app first. I think the TikTok studio is lacking for sure, to put it nicely. So, Dr. Keisha, when you were listening, what are your thoughts?
I'm detangling hair too right now. I'm back to my thing. But You're talking about the response and preparing for the response to the Ebola, virus by getting antivirals. Yeah, right. But again, all of this stuff requires logistics. We're not part of WHO anymore, and I don't know if we think we're going to be able to just get in on the bandwagon when we feel like it. I mean, it doesn't work like that. One of the other things too, I don't know if you heard about the treaties. I've been following these. So there are these treaties that our president decided to have African countries sign. And quite a few have signed them. However, I think several people over there said, that we need to reconsider or withdraw these treaties because they thought that instead of going to be part of the WHO, that this is what they're going to do. They're going to tell these people that we're going to give you this certain amount of money over time, right? So we're going to be your US aid. And in exchange for that, you can give us all the information, details about outbreaks, viruses, what have you, sequences in return for that. And so over 10 African countries have signed this.
So it's like instead of open access sharing of information, it's just
it's a what is it called when you sign a letter of death?
Yeah. I mean, it really is the
signing your life away. My daughter said she's right.
I mean, SARS-CoV-2 was like a remarkable open data, open access, success story. I feel like we knew the sequence really quickly. We knew the WHO primer sequences. I actually did a priming efficacy test on the ones that the CDC thought that they were going to do because they didn't want to use the WHO primer set. And anyway, even at home on my own kind of molecular biology, lab stuff, I could tell that there was going to be a priming efficacy problem, and sure enough, there was on the new priming set. So like and hantavirus, the sequence was published. Like getting more like open data, open access, like opening things up is it's the best way. And during a pandemic, I feel like it has to be that way. There's no other. Closing things down and is only going to have less eyes on it. It's going to cost people more lives. It's awful.
I Google search. I believe I found what you were referring to, Dr. Keisha, being article says U.S. signs bilateral health agreements with 14 African countries, with some key exceptions. Yeah. And
a few of them reneged. I love to use that word. A few of them withdrew from them after they were told, this is dangerous because, first of all, the money was not going to be given to them right away, right? And then it's unethical for you to say, like, you're giving health information and sequences from what? The WHO or from information that you are not actually obliged to be able to do. It's just problematic. It's problematic in so many ways. And for the United States to do that, to be honest, they're basically like, give us the information. Give me the cheat code because I don't want to take the course.
It also, this article mentions, notable absences. Countries that didn't sign on at all were South Africa, Tanzania, and the Democratic Republic of Congo, all with high disease burdens. All with high disease. I'm sorry?
Uganda's on there, aren't they? I think Uganda's in there.
This, in terms of, Uganda is part of the 14 countries. But I'm saying, in this paragraph, it says notable absences are South Africa, Tanzania, and the DRC, all with high disease burdens, with previously received significant grants from the USAID program, or sorry, the PEPFAR program. Previously they were getting through other mechanisms. But that didn't happen, and they haven't signed on to these bilateral agreements. So there's like big gaps, is what I'm saying in the response. And actually, I did have another question for you, Dr. Keisha. I'm not sure if you understand the layout of the geography of the Democratic Republic of Congo, but I was wondering if like the current outbreak is happening in a conflict zone. Some people are under the impression that like all of Congo is a conflict zone. That's not true.
No, I don't think it
Certain
is.
areas,
I think what
yeah.
you're saying, but it may be getting to it. Could be. Because I know Uganda is, but Uganda, this is not. This is mostly involving DRC, but I don't think the actual area is.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
I was reading the WHO page on Ebola, or BVD as you might see it.
Yeah, the BB strain. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So they basically they list it out. I mean, it's basically the WHO responds by supporting outbreak response, disease detection, community engagement, contact tracing, vaccination, vaccine and treatment trials, case management, laboratory services, infection control, logistics, and train and assistance with safe and dignified burial practices. So it's like we've seen this. We know what to do. It's just having those safeguards in place. And what's so frustrating about this is that there's a video going around of like Elon Musk. He's talking about he's so proud of everything that they cut and how much waste is in the USAID and all that kind of stuff. And then he said, "Oh, but we saw Ebola, on there, and we, Ebola treatment plans. We want that, so we brought that back." And like, I just want to say, like, he's lying to you. he's lying to you. When you're behind on something like this, it's so sad because you can't get ahead of it. You know what I mean? When these are times when like seconds matter, and it's just so sad. I mean, the average WHO, again, the average Ebola disease case fatality rate is about 50%. Case fatality rates have varied between 25 to 90% in past outbreaks. So it's awful.
Yeah, I think a case can be made that Musk has blood on his. Well, I think the case can be made from multiple angles, but this is just one of them.
Oh, for sure. I mean, yeah, I think it's because they're we know how they feel about Africa. I mean, Trump called it them shithole countries. Let's be real. We know.
True.
So it's like, people. It's just it's unfathomable. I'm so frustrated, and embarrassed and sad for it.
I think that one of the issues that allowed these cuts to happen is that people were under the impression that some like incredibly large percentage of the U.S. budget went to aid. It was like less than 1% of the U.S. budget goes to aid. But people are like, well, we need to take care of our own country first. And like, well, I can understand of that sentiment, right? People look around their neighborhoods, their communities, and they see like destruction, neglect, blight, and then they'll catch a story that a certain level of aid is going to this country or that country, and it certainly builds resentment. But one, it was never that much, and two, unfortunately, right, the way these budgets work is that like as we see, right, like those cuts happen, but that money doesn't get like redirected to our communities, right? These are all decisions that have to be made by our legislator, by Congress, by politicians. They have to make the active choice to invest in your community, wherever that might be, or your issue set, whatever that might be. When they say they're getting rid of waste, fraud, and abuse, right? That nonsense that was happening last year, right? Like they're just cutting programs they don't like. That's what that is. The America, especially on the federal level, we're actually very good at like cutting out fraud, watching for that. Like we had inspectors generals that did a very good job of looking for that and rooting it out. Right? They got fired. Many of them got fired under President Trump. But this is an easy thing to demagogue on, right? It's like, oh, well, see, your money was going over there. And it wasn't going to you, right? And now that we aren't helping those people, now that we aren't delivering resources, right, to fight diseases, now things will get better for you. But as you've noticed, it never has, and in fact, it's gotten worse because of more decisions by your president. So I want people to think about that the next time they hear about. They hear this type of rhetoric that we shouldn't even be bothering with them, right? Like focusing on America. Those same politicians who want to cut over there don't want to invest here.
It's not even the first time that this has happened with Trump and a pandemic. Because of Obama, bolstered the pandemic response. George W. Bush famously, like, reads a book about a pandemic. He on vacation asks when he comes back, hey, the CDC, do we have pandemic responses? They're like, no, we can actually bolster it a ton. George W. Bush bolsters it. Obama, it comes in, he bolsters it, and then Trump cuts it. It's like, this is actually the second outbreak that's happened that Trump has specifically impacted our response as a country, global response with the WHO. Like, this is like cascading impacts that are happening. But Dr. Keisha, I'm curious, like basically healthcare professionals, how are they responding to this? So I was asking my wife, when we were talking about it, and she was saying how even as a NICU nurse, they were actually preparing everyone in the hospital about like what it would be like to have an Ebola case like at the hospital, like what they would have to do, how they would have to deal with something like that. So I'm just like curious, like how do people like in the in the hospitals in Africa, how are they dealing with that? So how would like places like are people in the United States, like when would it get to the point where people in the United States are having to talk about this again?
Oh, I mean, I think if another pandemic or something comes here, a lot of healthcare professionals are done. I'm not gonna lie. They have been traumatized and abused from the last one. So, but a lot of the containment things, right, we use for other diseases. And again, measles, extremely contagious. Other ones, even MERS and other things with high fatality rates. There are a lot of precautions they have to do. But again, there is something we rely on here is the CDC, and we don't have the CDC to do that. So you're as strong as your leader and the person that is giving out the information. When you don't have the WHO and you don't have a strong CDC, local hospitals can do so much, but they still need the government to be guiding them. Yeah. And it's scary that, we don't have that. And then, people do know, I think over the last week, you had another 40 or 50 cases of measles. Not just wait for measles. And we also have an epidemic of somebody telling people not to take hepatitis. So just wait until we have a resurgence of hepatitis and hepatocellular carcinoma in our adolescents. It's going to be another perfect storm. It's not going to be one thing. We're going to be hit at multiple angles at once.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. It's just go ahead, Brian. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm curious. Actually, as an active healthcare worker, does your hospital organization, do they have protocols when you encounter skeptics, right? A person comes in, let's say a parent, right, and they got their child, and they might be showing symptoms of something, right, and they're skeptic, maybe not just of vaccines but just of medical care in general, of doctors, of your intentions, right? Are there specific protocols that you have to follow, or is it kind of just up to each of you to figure out how to manage that situation?
Well, whether someone's a skeptic or not, if they're suspected of having a disease, they're treated, and triaged the same way, and then we also look at, for measles, for instance, there's certain areas where it's happening at, where there's populations that don't believe in immunizations, and we see it. So a lot of those areas are already ready and know what to expect based on their population and their habits. Yeah.
Yeah, I know that for the urgent care that I went to, there was like huge pictures now of people with measles and being like, if you look like this, you have measles. Stay away. You're not, you have a specific thing that you can't, don't do this, you know? So, yeah, it's crazy. It's just, man, it's so frustrating.
But I believe and maybe I might be mischaracterizing, but like yeah, like is like, I guess, is there like a specific protocol, like steps to take of like when you encounter, let's say, a vaccine hesitant parent, or like is it really up to like the individual physician's like judgment, or like are you all taught like the same thing of this, how to approach it, or like, yeah, is there anything sort of like, I guess, maybe structural in place, or not?
Oh, I mean, that depends on the person's primary care doctor. Because, there are doctors that don't even believe in immunization. So we have that. That could be a problem. But on Dr. Tusa, I don't know if you guys know her, but she's a integrative medicine, allergist, immunologist, pediatrician, public health physician. And she's on the podcast. And we did an episode called Every Child Deserves Access to Vaccines, and then vaccine preventable illnesses, because we're having a resurgence of them. And she talked about this. She talked about with her population, because she deals with more naturalistic people than others. And, it doesn't happen overnight, but she starts by gaining trust of the parent and things like that, and talks about immunizations. And a lot of them are completely natural. I'm not taking anything. And she's gotten a lot of them to take immunizations. And she tells a story about the one child. Well, they weren't anti-vax, but she started to hear more stuff about immunizations. And she was like, I don't want them to get it right now because they're in sports. Healthy child, and he died of flu. So sometimes you have to tell the stories too.
I wonder, like, is it, I'm really curious the rates of science denialism, like in a place like Africa that's going through this right now. It does seem uniquely privileged to say viruses don't exist or whatever these guys are saying, when like you have people that are like bodies stacking next to you, you know what I mean? But then I guess I could see someone that's like, no, this is bad omens, or the person did something bad in their life and now this is like being cursed on them or something like that. But when you have the evidence of, hey, my friend got a vaccine and he's fine, versus, I don't know, I'm really curious actually. I don't know what the vaccine hesitancy rate of Africa would be, but I would assume it's lower. I mean, sorry, the vaccine hesitancy rate was that the uptake would be higher. It's a privilege to get a vaccine, and I think that they would probably see that. That's my hypothesis would be.
Oh yeah, I mean, Dr. Atusa talked about on the episode how even her, because she is an immigrant, that she knows people that would walk. The mothers used to walk half a day to get to a vaccination clinic to get their child immunized. They would walk hours to wait in line for it, because they see what disease can do to the body when they don't have access to it. I mean, do they have people that don't believe it that may be out in the bush? Yeah. But the problem here is that we have the access, the knowledge, and the information, and we just step on it. They don't have access to all of that. And we're trying to access going back there in a society that's, that's industrialized and have all of the products.
Well, it's an issue for we take it for granted, as opposed to they don't have the luxury to take it for granted.
I'm wondering if your organization tracks hesitancy. I used to work in a hospital, not as a health professional, but like along with health professionals, and they always love coming up with these new diagnostic tools or new ways to collect some obscure piece of data, right? But it was always helpful to do that. So like this seems like a major problem that health facilities across the United States are dealing with. So like, do you have some sort of protocol to like track these things when they happen?
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry, my daughter is. My daughter is being your daughter. What is your question?
Sure, no problem. I can repeat it.
Yeah. Wait, Dr. Greg, till you have a teenager. Just wait.
No. They're gonna stay. They're gonna stay at 5. Actually, that's crazy. Time's relative. Space time is all relative. Actually, so
you're working on the vaccine for aging.
Just send them to the ISS or something.
Yeah. So I was just Dr. Keisha. So I was just. Yes. Yeah. Protocol. Do you have protocols to track vaccine hesitancy? That seems like a thing that would be important since, like, there's a big issue facing hospitals around the country.
No, I don't. But where you can look, CIDRAP is phenomenal, and this entity has the VIP, the Vaccine Integrity Project, that they started when Trump's administration came in too. They started doing this, and they have a lot of data. They're redoing data, republishing, analyzing things, and they probably do have something on it. So it's the Vaccine Integrity Project.
Okay.
So the best thing I could find is this is AI assisted caveat, but they were looking at meta-analyses of COVID pooled vaccine acceptance rates. And the biggest problem is that obviously Africa is the heterogeneous. It's very heterogeneous across all the countries, right? So, but there's Ethiopia at 29%, Nigeria at 34%. There's Tanzania at 65%. So, and this is
that's the vaccine uptake
acceptance rate. Yeah.
Okay.
So, which is interesting. The pooled acceptance rate is 71%. And then the American population's acceptance rate's 80%. So,
well, so if you're able to, I understand, maybe like an AI summary and all that. So maybe not all the nitty gritty details are fleshed out. But like, yeah, how are they defining acceptance? Because like those low numbers, is that just largely an issue of like accessibility?
So this is the self-reported acceptance, which overstates real-world uptake in Africa. One panel study concluded vaccine acceptance levels remain far above vaccination rates, suggesting that vaccine hesitancy is not the primary obstacle to greater coverage, which may instead relate to access, delivery barriers, and supply shortages.
Okay,
dude, I mean, it's like, but the thing is, it's like, it's just all medical interventions, because the vitamin K is not even a vaccine, but it gets lumped in with all these vaccines that are given, like,
well, because it's given by injection. People have this this phobia, understandable phobia. But I was just literally reading an article today in our Canadian news of how they're showing slightly decreased uptake of the vitamin K shot in newborns.
Which is insanity. There's no possible reason why you would ever deny vitamin K, other than you just like want your child to need a blood transfusion or something, which is way more dangerous than anything that the vitamin K could ever do. Like, it's crazy. But yeah, so I wonder if it's just how do we get higher uptake to just medical interventions? That's what it seems across the board. I don't know. It's so weird.
But yeah, that injection part seems to be like a major issue, where people just associate, like, if it's an injection, it's much more like serious, as opposed to like in the article that I was reading, it's like they would refuse the vitamin K injection, but then if you offer them a pill, like, they seem more amenable to it, even though the pill's nowhere near as effective. But like,
I mean, we've trained our society, right, to take pills, right? Like we have pill popping society. I mean, before like vaccine hesitancy was what it was. I mean, we have advertisements. We have a lot of money behind pill taking, and not to say that like you shouldn't take a pill if you need a pill. I'm saying that like, but the population is very well trained, very well comfortable with that. That's something they can do themselves, right? That this seems a bit more empowering to them, right? Like ask your doctor about such and such medicine, right? Like it's there's a lot of agency associated with taking pills where like an injection is something that is done to you, right? This
Oh well,
substance, well,
let's
taken out of a uh, uh, but taken out of some container is put into your body, right? Usually within the context of a medical office. But like these are like again, I understand that this shouldn't be the case, but like from a perspective of a person who is unsure and kind of lost and maybe especially uneducated about medical technology, medical procedures, like these things like are very different,
Yeah, no, I understand from the perception, and everything you said is absolutely true in terms of like what people have essentially been, socialized or primed to think about, injections versus pills. But like, also maybe I'm at the other end of extreme because it's like, yeah, I've been injecting myself with a medication for like years and years. That's like, nothing. But
I
again,
mean, but there was a time and period where we did do injections and people didn't have problems with it. And to be honest, even if we are more of a pill inducing society, we also are doing a lot of needles. The rate at which aesthetic medicine has rose to where you can just see people called nurse injectors. So people are getting fillers, Botox at an alarming rate. Even teens getting it. People have no problem with their Ozempic shot.
Exactly.
So people have no problem going to get IVs for whatever reason.
True. I know that's the case, guys. GLP-1 vaccines. That's how I do it. I was thinking the same thing.
You gotta change the name.
TRT vaccines, TRTV.
I mean, there are those crazy people that like will go to like whatever those private clinics to get just like a vitamin IV that just does nothing, right? They'll spend
Even with the GLP-1s, there's a level of hesitancy that's why there's one of those companies is trying to push forth the pill. They're like you've heard about this. Like there's a pill coming out for this because there's a certain portion of the addressable population that won't do an injection or is afraid of it, or just like injections hurt and so they don't want to be involved. There's all kinds of reasons why people doesn't want an injection. So even then there's still some resistance to those things. But
I was talking on a panel today, and there was a Black American talking about how he's very scared, like about any type of out there medical treatments because Tuskegee, So I think that there's a lot of that just goes to show, I think the barriers that healthcare professionals have to manage in order to talk about this stuff and reach those people. I think it's tough.
Dr. Keisha, have you ever heard of anyone like? Because I've heard of certainly the Tuskegee experiments and heard of like people being upset about that, using this as a point of skepticism. But have you heard in your practice someone come to you, or maybe someone that you know, and saying, "Oh, well, I don't want to interface with this or that medical procedure because of those experiments"?
No, I mean, I don't see patients, but a lot of the conversations we have are not around that because they try to come with that, but it doesn't make sense. And when we explain to them as Black doctors that experiment was about withholding medicine and treatment, right? And that the treatments that they need, it's not the treatment or the science the problem. It's probably sometimes the doctor, right? The hospital, because yes, many people are just as racist that treat you as those that are on the street. They've got to overcome that. So a lot of it is having the conversation and finding a doctor they can trust. There's a small subset of these hoteps and stuff where they're just not going to believe anybody, and a black doctor is the devil. But a lot of the other ones, if they find a doctor that they can trust, that they'll still have that, hesitancy about that. But it's more so much as the doctor, because they see black patients being treated differently.
Just out of curiosity, because like this question sort of like is on my, because like I definitely agree with the sentiment of like people should find a doctor that they trust, but then at least for me it raises the question of like how does a person know that they can trust that doctor?
They have to feel comfortable. A lot of us have a gut intuition. I mean, yeah, can we get fooled sometimes? But this is just really about trusting them, meaning they're talking to you like a human being. They're not cutting you off. They're not being curt. Those are the things I'm talking about. And then, of course, you look for reviews too, right? If you're doing with a surgeon, sometimes you're not going to get the bedside manner. You better just have a darn good surgeon.
Yeah. It's it really goes into the, I'm a hard scientist, right? So I've always kind of like math, biology, chemistry, physics and stuff. And I've always put it higher in my brain versus the quote unquote soft sciences. And I completely changed my mind because of the pandemic and how important sociology is, right? Sociology being how culture and our society and our world kind of like bounce off one another, and the way that misinformation, how this all can spread, and that how we know what we know, why we know it, and how people accept that information. The pandemic is a great example of why, even if you're a hard scientist or whatever, like why sociology and the philosophy of science and why we know what we know and trying to like explain to people what's going on, I think is really important.
I think, I mean, the field of public health is just so fascinating, because it's where everything you just said collides. That's where it and it all becomes real, right? We're interfacing with public, and it can be during an absolute emergency, right? Or even if it's not an emergency, right? Like how do I, I want to get information out to the public, right? How do I do that about like their health? How do I convince people? How do I get this information to spread in a way that's productive, right? And like how do we reinforce these ideas? How do we get like hospitals and medical professionals on board so that they're prepared to answer questions from patients, right? Like it's just so much that goes into that. And I think so many people now have a better appreciation for public health than previously. But I don't know if it's getting the funding that we need. I don't know if, especially with the CDC being what it is, and Department of Health Human Services. I don't know if currently we have the leadership to respond, even again, not to a pandemic level threat, right? Like, but there's just this ongoing logistical issues, right? That like of our leadership, our government's supposed to handle. And it just requires like a will, a desire to actually interface with public health in a serious manner, not getting away of people who've been doing this for decades, right? And not like firing them for like some political appointee hack who will just tell you which one to hear,
or forcing them out.
Forcing them out. It's so anyway, I'm just like backing up what you're saying, Dr. Greg. I think everything you said is actually quite important. And public health is like crystallizes all that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess to rub it in the face of any anti-science person, there was a really cool story that Corey linked in chat, and basically the headline, amazing, what we've been saying for a long time: no child deaths definitively linked to COVID shots, the FDA says. So it's basically a a report. No child deaths have been definitively linked to COVID vaccines, according to a report from the FDA that was quietly made public last week. Quote, to sort of imply that there was a wholesale or large number of kids killed by the vaccine, I think goes beyond what the evidence says here, says Jesse Goodman, a former FDA chief scientist and an infectious disease specialist at Georgetown University Medical Center. So I think it just goes to show, like, again, like what people have been saying, what the data has shown, what everything is shown, like there isn't, just because like they could find 1 out of 100 scientists to say that, smoking was healthy for you, 50, 70 years ago, and doesn't mean that today, and the science changed in their minds, doesn't mean that the science on something like this is going to change. You know what I mean? Like, this is it's been rapid, the amount of experimentation and the amount of trials and the amount of, the scale of something like this, it's not going to wholesale cloth and all of a sudden we're like, wow, all these people lost their lives, which RFK did say that there was like a whole, like there more people actually lost their lives to the vaccine than the virus, which is wildly inaccurate. That is just crazy. So to have like an FDA chief scientist like actually just saying outright, like, yeah, there is none, and I think if this is what the information I feel like that I'd want to say to any of those vaccine hesitant people that are faced with this Ebola crisis, right? It's like, you can trust us. We have the data. We just did this pandemic with the vaccine technology that was new, innovative, high efficacy. Like, we can do it again. Like, here, this data does matter, I feel like.
Yeah, no. Although, let's say, I don't want to be completely cynical, but I imagine like if you confront anti-vaxxers or certain people from the MAGA movement with this information, they will just point to like, well, this is just further sign that the institution is captured or the conspiracy goes deeper than we originally thought, type of thing. They will find a way, I think, to spin it to ignore it. I hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm.
Yeah. Your thoughts, Dr. Keisha?
Yeah. Well, first, going back just a little bit, we're talking about how can we, get less vaccine hesitancy and trust again? Well, the leader sets the tone, so that's already out. We will get back on track when we have a leader that trusts science data and allows the experts to do what they do best, right? That is when we will get on track, because unfortunately, just like the doctor-patient relationship that I explained, and you were asking, how do you gain trust in it? It is not from showing data and facts. The patient-doctor relationship is how the mutual relationship, the treatment, the respect, the camaraderie. And unfortunately, with this president, they trust him, anything that comes out of his mouth, more than they trust us. So no matter how much data we throw at them, it's going to rebound. No matter how much facts, how many studies, it's going to rebound because they have trust. Someone that's not trustworthy.
Do you think my main theory of the case is that people are basically like defining and seeing reality through algorithms and their social media feeds versus what they see in their lives and their eyes and ears, basically? I feel like these algorithms and stuff are basically having a disproportionate impact on what people view reality to be true with.
I mean, even if people don't necessarily trust Trump or like follow politics at all, right? Like, I think these are the type of people who like hear things within the ether, right? And if their friends are just saying this or that is untrustworthy, that's good enough, right? And so like it still requires what Dr. Keisha said, like having good leadership, but like it spreads beyond like MAGA, right? Like people who aren't at all what you would describe as MAGA can also fall on these traps because they don't have, first of all, a knowledge base to follow on, to be skeptical of these dubious claims, right? And like they're just hearing what their friends were saying. Their friends may be like very animated about these things, right? And like, trust me, buddy, I've done the research, quote unquote, right? And that's enough. So these the misinformation, spreads far faster than proper information. So yeah, I agree. We do need a better leadership.
And I do agree that Trump has somehow gained the trust of a large number of people in the United States. But at least for me, it raises the question of like, well, how did that happen? Because it's like, I think we're all on the same page that Trump is not a trustworthy figure, but he has garnered or gained the trust of tens of millions of people in the United States. Like, how did that happen? Or at least I don't know exactly.
It's interesting, and I do think that Trump had a disproportionate impact. It is the case of Canada is something that I have a hard time understanding, though, because here is a country that does have universal health care. They have public health. They have, but I think that they share our media. And I was talking to a Canadian about this earlier this week too, and they were talking about how
you can't talk to any other Canadian but me. That's
there's only one A. And she was talking about how like she felt that they did push anti-vax ideas and sentiment as a political party in order to kind of like create factions and division in Canadian politics. So yeah, it's just Canada having a crazy bad measles outbreak is just it blows my mind. But I read the epidemiological report from Ontario, and it's very similar. Like outside of the major cities, basically you have a large 80% vaccinated rural population, and it just goes rapid community spread, blows through that stuff, and you can't do much when you have 20% of people that are just head in the sand.
Yeah, no, I think the Trump movement has bled into there's a certain segment of the Trump movement that has bled into Canada. Like there were like whatever rallies, mini Trump rallies in my province of Quebec. But when like there's no reason to have that here, but.
Yeah, I'm reading the report that came out, and basically the executive summary and the conclusion basically says that any of the pediatric cases is. Furthermore, we considered all the myocarditis with fatal outcomes to be applicable to all the other mRNA COVID-19 vaccines. So at all the rates of all the other ones. So it's not like disproportionately impacting kids or anything like that. So yeah, it's just completely debunked. I didn't know the fact that I didn't even know about this, Corey, and you had to link it in our group chat. I'm blown away.
There's a lot to keep track of. So.
Yeah, but dang, dude, like this is what we mean. This is what we exactly right. It's easier. BS like spreads 10 times faster. And it's exhausting.
I think a key part of the article is because there was Vinay Prasad mentioned the article because like he was a former FDA vaccine chief, and like that at one point he was making the claims or pushing this narrative of like the vaccines cause death and harm children, and I'm glad that this is now out there, but like again. Going back to this trust thing of like Vinay Prasad, essentially in my mind, an anti-vaxxer, but like he gained a following, he gained a trust. But then like an article like this comes out, is that going to affect the people that trust him? As in, are they going to like now turn their back on him? I'd assume not. Like for whatever reason, like when these people gain a following, they seem to gain a very loyal following. Which is an interesting phenomenon to me.
Yeah, I mean, trust is interesting. I mean, Dr. Keisha, who are you? I'm curious, like, what are your like sources that you're going to? Who do you trust or follows that you have? Like, 35 pro-science people here. So, like, where do you think that they can get like primary information, not just like Do you know what I mean? Like, what would be good sources of primary information that you trust if they wanted to go more in depth and having like reports and stuff that they could read?
That's a good question. I would say every single specialty of medicine where someone gets their certification from, you can look towards those governing boards as a source of information, right? Or the ones that from which we decide to get our continuing medical education. For us, it's College of American Pathology and American Board of Pathologists and all of the subspecialties. Same thing for, ACOG for obstetrics and gynecology.
Mm-hmm.
But I've also mentioned a few like CIDRAP because I really do like CIDRAP or like PFF. I put a whole resource page on medical, and I hate to say this, but it really is. I did it because people were asking. It's medical-collective.net and go up to the top to resources.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and do you see it at the resources? There's two. There's one that's like where people literally somebody got 2 years free of insulin from one of those from the Lilly Cares Foundation. So it's free medication. It's places where you can get your medication covered, free clinics. The difference between the RAM clinics and FQHCs, all of that stuff is there. But the second one is Trusted Health Resources. And so I put them together for you.
Nice. Cool. Perfect. I will. This is awesome. Yeah, I'm bringing it up right now. Yeah, I think like having, like going to original resources is such a good, even if you can't, I think it's important, even if you're not a medical professional yourself, like who like reading the WHO, like don't be afraid. I think of like seeing what it actually looks like. I think that it's really important to, it's a good place to learn. It's a good place to figure out what other people are looking at that are trained to look at. And this is amazing. I'll be looking at this myself. So thank you. So for sure.
If there's anything else to add, let me know. I can always add more. I found that I learned how to finally change it so I can add more. And same thing with the other documents, y'all, for the free clinics, even patient advocates on there, because, there are patient advocates associated with the hospital, but independent patient advocates, when you're going through something, will navigate you a lot further and better than one associated with the institution, if you don't want any biases.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm curious, like the, I'm curious about the immunologists and the virologists and what they're looking at too, for like if there is like an AMA for that. I guess there's the AMA for the microbiology stuff. There is.
Oh, for immunology, and I think in the two vaccine episodes, all of that stuff, I do show notes. I can pull it up. Dr. Atusa gives me all of the information to put in there on immunizations. I think even that paper was in there that she talked about the Wakefield thing. But in our show notes, we always make sure we put all the resources that you can go to in there.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I'm gonna add some more immunology stuff. She had a baby, so I'm giving her a little place right now. But we're actually supposed to do 2 episodes on that, on the landscape of vaccines and distrust.
Yeah, I love for, I guess, like stepping once out of primary literature and actually like trusted sources, the This Week in Virology, This Week in Microbiology. Vincent Racaniello has amazing podcasts, so people like want to listen to it. They're probably going to have incredible like coverage of this. So that's a good one, I feel like.
But very heavy, y'all. Mm-hmm. It's very good, but definitely for those who are into the sciences.
Yeah, I think I encourage people, if you're listening to something and you don't know words of it, you're in a good place, because that's how like learning happens, and you can look those things up, and it's definitely a you can recognize that those words over time, and you recognize more of them as you go along. That's how learning works. So,
I mean, for sure. But like, like it's great to encourage people to do their own research, but the unfortunate reality is like, to let's say even just to dig into the primary literature, like that takes time, and especially like if you're not scientifically trained, it's like if you're trying to navigate the information landscape and get good accurate information, let's say about vaccines, and it's like you have to spend hours and hours going through primary literature. That's like a huge barrier, I think, for most people, unfortunately.
For sure. Yeah, I think it's
As much as I encourage that people should, as in like the world that I would want to live in is that people do spend the hours, but then at the same time, like there's also so many hours in a day, right?
Sure.
And
honestly, like a really good, I feel like the really good intro, if you're curious, like Wikipedia. I mean,
yeah, no, absolutely.
it's the ones for stuff is a really good primer for a lot of stuff, to get people into it, and then you can start recognizing a lot of those words and stuff. So
yeah, I think generally Wikipedia will always be a good starting point to get a good overview just about any topic, generally speaking.
All right. Well, I know you're late, Dr. Keisha, and you stayed on to later than you ever wanted to be with us. So
I'm not sitting up here running a line. It's so much easier being in the bathroom.
Good. You're chilling. I'm happy about that. Yeah. I really appreciate you coming on. I DM'd you, and I knew I wanted to have an expert on tonight. So thank you so much for coming in and like talking to us. And let's hope that let's just hope that it works. I don't know, that there's progress, or that the outbreak is less than we thought, But
we can only hope, but we have the resources and the information, and we have the scientists, so we just need to listen to them. And when I really say get to basics, it truly is. Wash your hands, like get your immunizations, go get your screenings. It's the basic things you need to do.
Exactly. Well, please, if you don't already, please follow Dr. Keisha and she has an amazing podcast, medicalcollective.net with the dash in between. I'm sure you guys follow her. If not, please, anything else, Dr. Keisha, anything that you're working on? I guess your new lives that you're doing. They probably don't know about them.
Oh, that's funny. So Monday and Wednesday, I do my health news. Now, the problem is I'm a traveling doctor, so there will be weeks where I just won't be able to do it at the time that I said I was. But Mondays and Wednesdays, Fridays, I'm doing this after hours thing with the Healthy for Love. But it's actually, we do updates, we do all things, but I really wanted to find out from people. And I have a friend that does relationships, and we talk about health, because people don't think about it. A lot of people don't know about STIs, the conversations to have around it. Somebody that's going to end up having heart disease and you taking care of them for the rest of your life. Those type of conversations.
Really
also,
cool.
Every Monday, thank you. Every Monday, Substack, or the Stack of Subs. I love you, TikTok. The Medical Collective has a newsletter that comes out, and that is your briefing for the week of all the updates and a deep dive into conversations on certain health topics. So check it out. If you like to listen, I think that there's multiple ways to listen to trusted health providers. You don't have to get all the information yourself. Watch YouTube. I'm on there too with the Medical Collective episodes, or our little snippets, because that helps people when it comes in little digestible bites. And then read too. So you have the newsletter that you can read the updates, just curated for health topics directly to your mailbox.
Exactly. Well, Dr. Keisha, thank you so much again. Thank you for coming on. You're a pioneer of science communication on here on TikTok, and I really appreciate you coming up. And
thank you. Pleasure.
Bye, you all. Good speaking with you all.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Let's see. There we go. I need to go to this, and then we do this here. Boom. Awesome. All right. Well, I guess a little less serious, a little less like people that, let's just say people that do not have needle phobia.
I definitely do not have needle phobia. I cannot afford it.
The enhanced games, ladies and gentlemen, they're happening. They are happening right now.
This weekend.
The Yoke Olympics, the performance enhanced.
I think this is the type of games that you want, Greg, right? I believe.
Yes, yeah. Genuinely, I do feel like having some type of like even pharmacological, I don't know, playing field probably. Yeah. I don't know.
These games, if I remember correctly, it's like they can take anything that is FDA approved. It sounds like you want like pretty much anything goes, like any experiments that you...
That's bad stuff. That's because like, I mean, even like I thought like even caffeine at a certain level is a PED that they've banned for from some stuff. So which is guys, technically they've shown studies that caffeine is a PED. So there you go.
Absolutely.
That's why it's in pre-workout, and that's why it's going. So 40 athletes will compete. Here we go. The enhanced games, 42. The WADA, highly critical of them, but they're announced in 2023. So we'll see. I wonder how they're actually streaming it or talking about this. Or getting it out there. I'm sure it'll be on like YouTube or something.
There do seem to be some legitimate Olympic athletes involved in it, and also like, so like I very casually like follow every once in a while like strongman competitions, and like I believe one of the winners of the world's strong, and like I think everyone knows, or at least should know that, like world's strongest man or strongman, like they're all juiced up. Like,
Tons.
Yeah, as in, I don't think you can compete, just like whatever competitive bodybuilding. You cannot be competitive bodybuilder without being enhanced. At that point, same thing holds true. But like, but basically, I believe if I remember correctly, one of the winners, I think one of the more recent winners of the World's Strongest Man, I think his name is like Mitchell Hooper. Well, I know that because like I believe he's Canadian. Like he's competing in these games, and I think like he even like I think recently published on his own YouTube channel, like all the stuff that, let's say, whatever, the stack, as they refer to it, that he's taking. Like all the tests and the growth hormone and all, like, yeah, he seems to be pretty, but like, it also seems like really extreme. And I think he even like more or less explicitly says like, yeah, like this is not good for my health and probably going to lead to my premature death.
Yeah. I mean, well, if they're doing, yeah, exactly. So it's just, yeah. And it really is a lot of the TRT stipulations that was happening with the UFC. So basically a bunch of the guys basically were like, oh, if TRT is involved, then I'm going to go on TRT. And so that was kind of weird. I don't think it's saying anything about that, though. They aren't releasing individual details of the athletes' substance programs, but the company said competitors have used testosterone. Oh, there you go. HGH, stimulants, metabolic modulators alongside anabolic agents. So that would be like, I can't imagine what are they thinking about there? I don't know. And anabolic steroid agents. I don't understand how they're banned by WADA, but they're FDA approved. So that's interesting.
Yeah, I think as long as, at least from my understanding, as long as it's FDA approved, they can do whatever they want.
That's curious. I'm curious. Let's see what this. Let's see what Google says for these things. Metabolic modulators. Those are estrogen modulators, ancillary compounds. Oh, aromatase inhibitors. So that basically that's so that you can use more. You can use more testosterone so that it doesn't convert into estrogen. So basically, okay. Erythropoietin. I've never seen this.
Erythropoietin, EPO. That is
EPO, okay.
That's stimulates the production of red blood cells.
Gotcha.
Typical PED for endurance athletes.
Yeah, that's a popular one with cyclists, right? That's the one that they just basically, yeah. Gotcha. Okay, and then anabolic steroid I don't know what the agents are. What are the agents?
Well, so when it comes to anabolics, like you could either just like take straight testosterone, but there's so many other analogs or other agents that have similar effects, but that are not testosterone, or even greater effects than just straight testosterone. I think there's a whole range there.
Gotcha. Okay, so yeah, this is gotcha. Okay, so this is the basically like the testosterone can bind to a lot of different parts in the body. The idea being that these are more specifically binding to like muscle and stuff like that, so you can specifically make more of those.
Yeah, or they're binding more strongly, or for a longer time, or all of the above.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. A lot of these are basically they're developed for people for muscle wasting diseases.
Yeah, like muscular dystrophy.
Yeah, so it's like, and you don't want it to bind to some erroneous like cell that could increase the rates of cancer, but you want it to specifically, and if they have cancers, then you want it to bind specifically to the muscle part, so that people can do it. So there's a bunch of oral and injectable ones. Okay, interesting. But they would have to get even FDA approval. They would have to get a physician to okay them. And then there's no way that they're going to get Anavar approved for.
I don't know, like. I think we all like to think, all doctors are ethical, but like they're not. Like usually, if you just pay enough for some people. And also, who's to say that it has to be through a doctor? I don't know if that's stipulated in the rules of like you have to have a prescription for it. Actually.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And I'm not sure even how transparent they have to be, because like I don't know what type of, I haven't looked into it, but like if they're like marketing it and it's true that like as long as it's FDA approved, then it's fine. But they cannot realistically test for every substance that's FDA approved. It's just not possible. That would take years.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's a good point. Oh gosh, here we go. And then selling peptides beyond the games, the company plans to sell performance enhancing.
Yeah, this is another part that caught my eye.
What? Enhanced announced a range of supplements in March alongside performance and longevity products such as hormone replacement therapy for men and women. The company said there's the first step in the company's plan to become the leading in personalized enhancement products, improving. Oh, so this is ridiculous. So it's planning to offer access to peptides, GLP-1s, obviously. So it's just an ad. So they're just making an ad for their peptide company.
Yeah, it's definitely like seems like a marketing stunt. I don't know, I don't know about exclusive marketing stunt, but like there's definitely a heavy marketing aspect to it.
Dude, I got an ad. Someone cold emailed me trying to get me to do some peptide like commercials or something. I'm like, there's no.
They want your science-backed seal of approval, right?
Yeah,
as in, if Dr. Greg says that it's good, then it must be good.
This is the thing. This is the thing for modern day debates, man. So like I think I kind of burned my bridge with that because I wasn't too nice to Kent Hovind. I think James is mad at me. He didn't return my email, but after I said thank you for having me on, but dude, he had on DebateCon at the bottom, like the bottom like 25% of the screen was a thick banner, like selling ivermectin and natural path, like whatever, to like one of these websites, one of these scammy websites, dude. And I'm like,
unlike the modern day debate, like let's say during your debate, there was just like whatever.
No, not during my debate. I would have freaked out if he would have done that. But legitimately, like, yeah, it was on for his DebateCon 8 or whatever. And I did actually ask to go on that. I did not know that he would be doing that. But obviously, I can't ever go on. Yeah, the Chiron. Yeah, I couldn't. I couldn't do that now. I could never go on to like one of these debate cons that he was hosting because I can't have my name. I can't be pushing using my me to sell this stuff. Like,
Unless you're debating the Chiron, saying, "Hey, this is garbage."
exactly.
That might be a good strategy, but
I thought that's just wildly unethical, man. I couldn't believe that he had that. I'm actually, then I bring this up specifically, like Prime. I mean, what do you think about that, man? Like the idea of these ads and stuff as a debate platform. I feel like that was very unethical of him.
I don't know. I think it's only unethical if you yourself have a problem with it, right? Like I mean, if he, from his perspective, he believes in the product, I mean, then he believes in the product. Like I don't know. There's a bunch of other products that I may disagree with, but like other people may think are perfectly normal. And they wouldn't say there's any sort of like, I don't know, conflict of interest or or anything, right? Like, I don't know. It's hard to to say about that. Like, you're asking me would I like take a naturopathy sponsorship? I wouldn't, right? Like
No.
for all the reasons why you wouldn't. But for someone else to do it, I mean, if they believe in it, then it is what it is, right? Like it's hard for me to tell someone not to take a sponsorship for a product they actually believe in. I don't know if he does. I've only had a few DMs with the individual behind moderating debates, so I couldn't tell you anything more about him. But I mean, it could be a grift. It could be. But it's hard to tell. And if again, if you believe in something, right? If maybe he uses the product, right?
Yeah.
I understand your position not to go on the program because of it, but like I can't necessarily say it's unethical without knowing it's an actual grift. So
I think it's just that he portrays modern day debates as like an independent, above the fray kind of like place, and to push something
one way or the other, right? I mean, so if he takes ads, then like can't be truly independent in that way, right? Like your corporate sponsors will always moderate you to a certain level, right?
That's a good point. Yeah.
It's just how the game is, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, would you like take something that you were like ethically opposed to, like what Trump, like let's say Trump 2028, and he use like $5,000?
Like I said, I wouldn't take something like that, naturopathy or Trump, the whatever, right? I wouldn't do that. But yeah, again, like that's not something I believe in. If there was a Bernie like sponsorship specifically, right, to spread the good message of Sanders, then I would. But then
Colonel
else,
Sanders,
right? Like, one of my conservative friends that are on my on my podcast, like they might have the same reaction you do. Like, well, I can't be on there because you're backed by Sanders, and I'm against them. Yeah, I just kind of how the game is played. So,
someone in chat said ad blocker, but no, that this is something physically on the screen that can't be blocked. Yeah. This is like it's taken up, like your name.
Yeah, it's built into the stream.
Yeah,
it's a graphic on the screen
right there. Yeah, you can't ad block it.
But I do see it as a because so I agree with your sentiment that like at least the overall message, even though like I let's say my strong suspicion is that the individual who is in charge of modern day debates is I think right leaning and like believes in these type of narratives, but I could be wrong about that. But like even then, just with them as I think you correctly said, he markets it as like this is just like this is the place to battle out the ideas. But like if you're having that type of sponsorship, like already right there, I think you're undermining your message, or if that is your messaging of like how assuming that in and of itself limits the type of debate that you can have, presumably of like if you actually were like debating whatever COVID lockdowns or COVID restrictions or even like whatever, just COVID in general. If ivermectin gets brought up, like that's going to limit or let's say not necessarily going to limit, but rather like having an ivermectin sponsorship like changes the dynamic or how it's perceived, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, dude, man, I've been selling ivermectin boxes since COVID, and guys, you'll never expect what Hanta and Ebola is it's susceptible to.
What about someone who comes into the channel who's pushing ivermectin, right? Like, he may not be getting money from them, but like, yeah, this is the what was a popular participant, and they happen to have an ivermectin white label business or something, you know. Like, should he not have that person on?
I think there's a question there of like, I think that's a little bit of an open question, but like, yeah, at least
If he's making money off and he's selling them him personally, or if he just talks about and advocates for it. Which one?
I'm saying the moderator debates like has a participant who comes in, and they are selling part of their, like, not necessarily selling it on the program,
right, but
like
they're essentially providing the platform for them to do it, or amplifying
like,
the message.
That's tough, dude. I mean, that is a really tough one. I mean, like I've had multiple people on my stream that are like this, and it's just like they say, hey, well, it's something that I believe in, and I think that it helps.
Oh, did he freeze for anybody else? But
I'm here.
Oh, yeah, you're back.
They basically say, like, I believe in this product and it helps people, and I can attest to it that it works. So, like, why shouldn't I like have it? And but the problem is then it's like it's gone from the I am just wrong on the facts and I'm misinformed to like I'm actually have a financial motive and I'm lying to grift. So that's the tough. I it's tough, man, because I do play this thing where I have to engage with people that I disagree with as a science communicator, right? If I'm going to debunk something, I have to engage with the idea. So, you know, and how does this platform? How do I as a channel or something? How do I intercalate and debunk these people without making, you know, pushing their stuff out and platforming them? It is frustrating. But it's the inherent contradiction of what, you know, debunking anti-conspiracy has.
Yeah, and even then, like, and I could just be incorrect in my analysis or just the way I'm perceived. But like, yeah, if I were trying to like host or design a platform or space of like this is the place to debate ideas, like. Any sponsorship that I would take, like, would just be like the most milquetoast. Like, I don't know, like I don't know, a company that manufactures paint would be like my extensive sponsorship. Like, I wouldn't really like. It'd be hard because like I would not want just any hint of like there's any sort of bias or like anything that like changes the ideally, you know, not truly objective, but like as objective or unbiased as possible. Yeah. But like, yeah, just like even though I'm on the same side as you, Greg, I would look at you differently for sure. But I might be incorrect in my analysis of like, as you were debating and on your show, you got a sponsorship from like Thermo Fisher. I'd be like, ooh, like, even though I don't have even though I like Thermo Fisher and I've bought many products from them, like, and you know, I view them as overall good company. But like, even if you had that would change how I view you, and I would view that negatively.
Really, just as a science reagent like company that's completely indifferent, because who knows what you're doing with those. Interesting. I mean, it's weird. I get like obviously like all my comments and stuff on social media are all like calling me a farmer shill and all that kind of stuff, and then there's also people like, oh, what an idiot, this guy is actually begging for donations, and I'm like, well, which one is it? Like, well, yeah, if I'm
that's the thing.
Donation driven versus like getting chilled for farmer, like I can't both ways. I'm getting.
You have to be dirt poor on the streets advocating for science. That's like.
Yeah, how dare I do these science communication? Yeah,
exactly. But yeah, even if it was like something as like again, like I have an overall like I've literally dealt with Thermo Fisher and have positive interactions with them. I can show you the emails to back it up. But like, yeah. If I saw like a Thermo Fisher banner or like on a Chiron that you had, like I probably would like, yeah, view that negatively.
I'm having this
But
personal problem like with it. I mean, as you guys know, I've got laid off since October, and it's hard. I don't have a science job yet, and I'm trying to make stuff work. And I wanted to be an actor as a kid, and kind of like tried to go into like, it's like maybe I could do some like commercial acting, or I could do something, and there's modeling that's in there. So it's the same people, and you just kind of like put it up there. And so, yeah, I've been getting like modeling gigs on the side in order to try to like
nice.
pay the stuff. It is weird, like 200 failed science applications, and then all of a sudden people are emailing you for work. It is very weird. But one of them was like a drink company, and I'm like, oh, what kind of drinks are these? You know what I mean? Like, what if they're like one of those
Spiked with
natural
ivermectin.
Yeah, exactly, a naturopath like kind of thing. And I'm like looking at making sure that it's not one of those things, because I'm literally going to be like the ad for that product. So it's like I'm really thinking about that stuff, because it is it can be very, 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 very bad.
Yeah, no, that's tricky. Although to be clear, like I hope you don't interpret what I say or what I just said in terms of, like, at the end of the day, like, look out for your own well-being and like for your own financial like interests. Just be aware. That's all.
Talk to Dr. Mike. I don't think Dr. Mike on YouTube is going to get back to me. I think he has like 18 million subscribers.
Which Dr. Mike? Dr. Mike the osteopath or Dr. Mike Israel? Those are either way. Yeah. They're both huge platforms. But Dr. Mike the osteopath, I think, is like 18 million. Dr. Mike Israel, I think, is like 2 or 3 million.
Yeah. I think I'm not contacting Dr. Mike Israel because I'm not trying to look like a bodybuilder with the look and the silhouette of Frosty the Snowman.
True. Yes.
So yeah, but I don't know, man. I think obviously the enhanced games, like literally being an ad for their actual thing, like, that's crazy, dude. That is so unethical, because it's like, hey, you want to run like this, they take this, and that is insanely unethical. I think modern day debates, like grifting to these people and providing an ad for these people I think that's unethical for sure. But I don't know how, other than just complete viewer donations, I don't know how else to do it. Or Twitch Prime, guys. I don't know if you should see like Amazon Primes, if they still work for. I think
they should still work. Yeah,
you should test it. Prime Kai's on Twitch.tv, see if it still works, guys.
But for the enhanced game, like I don't know for sure, but I think like the enhanced games, I suspect it appeals to individuals in the MAHA movement, where I think for whatever reason, like I think they're going to be more on board with like, all these peptides. Well, I think we see it now. Like they seem to be clamoring for all the peptides, but then they'll be anti-vax, even though again they will criticize the vaccines for not being tested enough, but then they'll take all these unproven peptides.
Yeah, because they think that it's just as experimental. So like, why not? If it's just as experimental, why not take the ones that get you ripped?
Well, yeah, exactly.
It's crazy. It's like, it's insanity.
And the fact that you actually can show athletes that are presumably using them, even though I don't think that's like a good use case. I think that that triggers something in the mind of like, oh, well, then it must be good, as opposed to whatever some scientist in a lab going through clinical trials and like taking a meticulous approach to like develop a vaccine, right?
I want all natural food and TRT.
Okay, gentlemen, I gotta head out.
Okay.
But this was fantastic. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
Thanks for the great conversation. Find me at twitch.tv, youtube.com, or kick.com /PrimeKai, PrimeCays. thank you for the conversation, Corey and Dr. Greg.
Always a pleasure. And you can find me on twitch.tv, CoreyCam84, Twitter, X, YouTube, Instagram, Substack, TikTok. It's Corey Campbell. And yeah, Greg, if at the end of the day, if Thermo Fisher approaches you with a bag of money, you should take it probably.
All right. And I'll see you live. I'll see you guys live at the floors of the Enhanced Games this week. We're going to stream live. So, never mind. All right, guys. Have a good one. Appreciate you.
Take care. Be well. Always a pleasure.
Peace.
One second. Okay, thank you to anybody thank you Overused Chutoy for passing by. Always a pleasure. And anybody else that I forgot or maybe missed is, I think, Apollo. Yes, Apollo Lunar. Thank you for passing by. And anybody else that I may have forgotten, I apologize. But yeah, that's it for this week. Should be back next week. I'm sure there's going to be a bunch of other stories that have come up that we can talk about. Well, actually, even today, we did not get through all the stories that we want to cover. So we'll either cover those next week, or I'm sure there'll be a new batch of stories that we can cover. But yeah, until then, take care and be well.